Yoriichi and Kokushibo both appeared in the timeline of Tanjiro. Would the world be saved much earlier, or would their presence cause even greater chaos? After analyzing the story for days, these are 3 logical ways the story could unfold. But how will they even teleport? Well, on a fateful day when they were strolling, they come across a mysterious young man who looks suspicious to them. Yoriichi locks in to fight when suddenly they were teleported to the future. And that person is... me am the one. So in this timeline, both Yoriichi and Kokushibo arrive in Tanjiro's era still human. Yoriichi is in his prime, sun-breathing master, Demon Slayer mark active, and transparent world fully unlocked. Kokushibo is also in peak condition with moon-breathing and the Demon Slayer mark, though without the transparent world. Coming back to the future. On a faithful evening as Tanjiro trains with Urokodaki in the forest, a strange light flashes. The brothers appear out of thin air, confused and disoriented. After a tense introduction, Yoriichi quickly realizes this is the future. Muzan is still alive and the fight is not yet over. When Yoriichi meets Tanjiro, he notices his earrings and fighting spirit, reminding him of a trusted friend from centuries ago. Without hesitation, Yoriichi takes Tanjiro under his wing, determined to pass on the true mastery of sun breathing. Kokushibo's path is more complicated. At first, he harbors his usual jealousy, but Tanjiro senses it immediately. With his empathy and determination, Tanjiro convinces Kokushibo that there's no need to compete with Yoriichi. They can both be pillars of strength for humanity. For the first time, Kokushibo lets go of his resentment. When they reach the Demon Slayer Core HQ, Ubuyoshiki instantly recognizes the historic opportunity. Yoriichi is named Sun Hashira. Kokushibo becomes Moon Hashira. And training for every member is overhauled. During the exam selection, with Yoriichi's training, Tanjiro's movements are sharper, faster, more precise. He cuts through demons with minimal effort, including the hand demon that once nearly killed him. He passes the exam without a scratch. Hashira like Rengoku, Shinobu, and Sanemi push their limits beyond anything in the original timeline. The core gains a level of coordination and skill that Muzan could never have anticipated. From here, every major arc changes. When Tanjiro meets Muzan after killing the swarm demons, he is more determined to kill him. However, even in this timeline, he is nowhere near his strength. Muzan escapes and sends Susumaru and Yahaba to finish Tanjiro off. Tanjiro, who is stronger, finishes them off with ease, with or without the help of Tamayo and Yushiro. Even the same goes for the former 12 Kazuki Kyogai. Tanjiro and his team finish them off with ease without any casualties like in the original story. During the Mount Natagumo arc, Tanjiro already wields both water-breathing and sun-breathing, trained directly by Giyu, Urokodaki, and Yoriichi. By the time he, Zenitsu, and Inosuke reach Mount Natagumo, their strength far surpasses their canon selves. When they reach Rui, Tanjiro clashes head-on, his combined form slicing through webs that once would have trapped him. He pushes Rui to the brink, shattering his threads and nearly decapitating him before fatigue sets in. He arrives just in time to block a lethal counter and lands the final blow, sparing Tanjiro from overexertion. Thanks to the core's boosted training under Yoriichi and human Kokushibo, casualties are minimal. Only a few minor injuries among lower-ranked slayers. The mountain is cleared quickly. After that, they have a meeting about Nezuko and decides to keep her for now. The mission begins as in the original. Rengoku boards the train to investigate disappearances. This time, both Tanjiro and Yoriichi accompany him. Kokushibo remains behind to oversee core's training. Enmu doesn't even get a chance to launch his dream manipulation. The moment Yoriichi senses the lower moon's aura, he moves faster than sight and beheads him. No derailment, no civilian casualties. But this small change ripples. Akaza, never summoned to the fight, remains hidden elsewhere, his confrontation with Rengoku avoided entirely. Rengoku survives and continues as an active Hashira, his strength further enhanced by training with Yoriichi. In the Entertainment District arc, neither Yoriichi nor human Kokushibo is sent. Tengen, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke fight Daki and Gyutaro as in canon, but with Tanjiro's advanced sun-breathing training from Yoriichi, the battle ends with far fewer injuries. Tengen loses no limbs and remains an active Hashira. In the original story, Tanjiro travels to the swordsmith for his sword repair. This time, he never breaks his blade, so Kokushibo goes instead, partly out of curiosity to meet Muichiro, a descendant of his bloodline. They bond over shared history. Kokushibo admits to regrets, wishing he had valued his family over power. When Hantengo and Gyoko attacks, Kokushibo decapitates Hantengo immediately, forcing him into his emotion clone. Muichiro fights alongside him instead of being blown away, allowing them to clear the battlefield much faster. Mitsuri faces Gyoko with Genya, but is trapped in the water prison until Kokushibo arrives to break her free. Together, they finish the fight with minimal losses. In the Hashira training arc, Muzan will attempt to assassinate Ubuyoshiki, but Yoriichi senses him and he fails to do so. Then, he will instantly teleport everyone to the Infinity Castle. When Muzan finally unleashes the Infinity Castle, both Kokushibos enter, human and demon. Michika Katsu versus Kokushibo, knowing that only one will leave. Their duel spans multiple floors, moon-breathing clashing with its corrupted twin. Human Kokushibo's strikes are fueled by the desire to erase his own future. Demon Kokushibo's counters are laced with contempt, mocking his past self's mortality. In the end, human Kokushibo wins, with the help of Muichiro and Genya slicing through his demonic self's neck and ending the centuries-long corruption of his name. While Yoriichi, Yome, Tanjiro, Gyu, Sanemi, and Shinobu clears almost all the upper moons, Doma and Akaza, Obanai, Mitsuri, Rengoku, and Tengen finish off Nakime. By helping the Demon Slayers in this timeline, Shinobu also does not die. With the combination of Rengoku, Tengen, Shinobu, Muichiro, and the rest of Hashira's unharmed, they all face Muzan. Kokushibo joins Yoriichi for the final push against Muzan. With or without Tamayo's drug weakening the Demon King, the combined precision of sun and moon breathing, Muzan is shredded long before dawn, leaving only silence when the sun rises. The core survives almost entirely intact. Two brothers from another time came, fought, and vanished when the work was done, leaving the modern era forever changed. This is a very good ending, but the other two says otherwise. In this version, both brothers arrive in Tanjiro's era, but Kokushibo's jealousy consumes him once more. At first, he trains with the core, but when he sees Yoriichi effortlessly surpass even the strongest Hashira, old wounds reopen. Muzan senses Kokushibo's bitterness and approaches him in secret, offering him the immortality and strength he craves. In a moment of weakness, Kokushibo accepts, becoming Upper Moon 1 centuries earlier than in the original story. This betrayal shatters Yoriichi. Though he hides his grief, his focus shifts entirely to eliminating Muzan and freeing his brother from demonhood. The core now faces a devastating advantage for the demons. Muzan has Yoriichi's equal in raw sword skill, and Kokushibo knows all of the core's strategies from his time among them. After the fight in Mount Nadagumo, Kokushibo advises Muzan not to kill the lower moons, that they will be useful one day. Muzan was skeptical at first, but later agrees. Muzan then enhanced them with more strength. In the Mugen train, Yoriichi kills Enmu, but this time Akaza arrives and forces a duel. With the combination of Yoriichi, stronger Tanjiro, Rengoku, and the rest, they successfully defeat Akaza. Akaza, who regains his memories, regrets his demon days. In the Entertainment District arc, the arc goes just as the original timeline, but in the Swordsmith Village arc, when the Upper Moon's meeting hold, the second Kokushibo leads the mission to evade the Swordsmith Village. He appears with Hantango and Gyoko, killing multiple swordsmiths before Yoriichi can arrive. Muichiro dies protecting the village, and the core's ability to make Nichirin swords is permanently crippled. But with the help of Yoriichi, they did make some comeback. The Infinity Castle rises. Muzan orders his twin Kokushibos to eliminate Yoriichi first. The fight is ferocious. Demon Kokushibo's monstrous reach and durability, combined with newly turned Kokushibo's flawless moon breathing and familiarity with Yoriichi's style, would be impossible for anyone else. But Yoriichi's beyond them both. Faster than sight, reading every movement through the transparent world. The duel ends with both Kokushibos on their knees, their heads severed in the same motion. Yoriichi's voice is low as he says, "I will remember you as you should have been." Without his Upper Moon ones, Muzan faces Yoriichi directly. The core is battered. Some of the Hashiras are dead, but Yoriichi's presence rallies the survivors. Tamayo's drug weakens Muzan, but it's Yoriichi's relentless precision that shreds him apart. Every strike removes more than Muzan can regenerate. Before dawn, Muzan's body collapses into dust under the rising sun, leaving silence where his reign once stood. This ending saves humanity, but the core's left scarred. Yoriichi survives, yet walks away alone, having buried both versions of his brother with his own hands. This version of the story looks kinda sad. But what about the third and final one? What if the time rift that pulled Prime Yoriichi and Prime Human Kokushibo into Tanjiro's era didn't just change the playing field? It made Muzan aware of them the instant they appeared. In this theory, nothing from the original Demon Slayer timeline plays out the same way. From the first night, the war is different. The timeline is broken. It happens exactly like in the first episode, except this time, Muzan isn't sensing a boy with Hanafuda earrings. In the middle of Tokyo, surrounded by humans, Muzan freezes. A presence hits him like a hammer, then another. He knows them both, the man who nearly killed him centuries ago, and the human version of his most loyal Upper Moon. His first thought is panic. His second is opportunity. Muzan abandons all subtlety. That same night, he summons all the 12 moons to the Infinity Castle. Two ghosts from the Sengoku have walked into my world. Yoriichi must die, and my past servant must kneel at my side again. He orders Demon Kokushibo Kokushibo to find and either kill or convert his human self immediately. The other moons are tasked not with their usual slow hunts, but with wiping out every Demon Slayer stronghold before Yoriichi can train them. Yoriichi and human Kokushibo appear in a quiet mountain forest, found almost instantly by Urokodaki. Before they can even reach Core HQ, Demon Kokushibo arrives. The brothers face each other across a moonlit clearing, past and present locked in silence. Yoriichi's hand is on his sword, ready, but human Kokushibo stops him. This is my burden. If I cannot cut down my own future, I have no place here. They fight. A mirror match of identical moon-breathing styles. Human Kokushibo holds his ground, but Muzan's orders pull Demon Kokushibo away before a victor is decided. The next week is chaos. Doma destroys a core safe house in the east. Huntingu wipes out a training outpost in the west. Meteor and swordsmiths are slaughtered before they can forge replacements. The core tries to rally, but without the buildup of gradual arcs in training, the weaker slayers are being hunted faster than they can be replaced. Kagaya organizes an all-or-nothing strike on Demon Kokushibo, sending human Kokushibo, Sanemi, Giyu, and Muichiro. It's a disaster. Demon Kokushibo teaming up with Akaza and Doma kills Muichiro, Giyu, and gravely injures Sanemi. Human Kokushibo survives only because Yoriichi arrives mid-battle, driving the demon away. But the cost is high. 2 Hashira gone, 1 crippled. Muzan realizes his Demon Kokushibo cannot win against both Yoriichi and his human self together, so he changes tactics. Separate them. Human Kokushibo is lured into a trap by Akaza, Doma, and Demon Kokushibo together. The fight is brutal, but outnumbered, the human warrior is struck down. As he lies dying, he looks at his demon self. You are my shame, but I am yours as well. Yoriichi arrives too late. He cuts down Akaza and Doma instantly, but Demon Kokushibo escapes again. With the core in ruins and only a handful of Hashira left, Muzan makes his move. He orders the Infinity Castle to open, intending to kill Yoriichi before dawn. What follows is not a war, it's an execution. Yoriichi moves through the castle like a blade through paper, cutting down Upper Moon 6, 5, and 4 without slowing. He meets Demon Kokushibo one last time, and ends him with a single perfect stroke. Then he walks into Muzan's chamber. The fight is hopeless for Muzan. Every swing of Yoriichi's blade takes more than Muzan can heal. Muzan tries to split into thousands of pieces, but Yoriichi herds him like a cornered animal. When the first sunlight hits, Muzan burns where he stands, his final scream echoing through the collapsing castle. The war ends, Muzan is gone, but the core is shattered. Some of the Hashira's dead, the swordsmith line's broken, the younger slayers never given time to grow. Yoriichi stands alone in the ruins of HQ, the only one untouched by the years or the battle. He has won. But the timeline he fought to protect is gone, erased the moment he arrived. Then, Yoriichi determined to fight all the Upper Moons by himself. So, click on this video to see what if Yoriichi fought all the Upper Moons. Click it!
What if Tanjiro failed to master the sun breathing throughout the series? Would that change the entire story? After going through the manga for days, I found 3 possible ways the story could continue, and the first one is dark. Tanjiro would die. The first time Tanjiro manifested the sun breathing technique was during his fight against the lower rank 5 demon Kizuki named Rui. Rui used his blood demon art, cutting thread cage, to enclose Tanjiro in a shrinking web of deadly threads. In the main story, Tanjiro was able to avoid death and counter this technique using the moves of sun breathing he learned from his father, which they called the Hinokami Kagura dance. Tanjiro would go on to use this move and pressure Rui, up to the point where Rui had to use a slick move to protect himself and have the Demon Slayer cornered again, only for Giyu to show up and save the day. However, in this reality, Tanjiro wouldn't be able to remember and manifest the Hinokami Kagura dance at all, so he would get sliced up into a million pieces by Rui's cutting thread cage. Seeing her brother die right in front of her, Nezuko would transform into her adult form and go berserk. She'd physically assault Rui, tank his attacks, and fire wave after wave of her exploding blood. Remember the fact that Daki, who is one half of the Upper Moon 6, was getting absolutely manhandled by Nezuko in this form, so there's no way Rui would have an upper hand in a battle against her. Her exploding blood could not only give Daki severe burns, but also burn off Rui's blood threads in the main story, so adult Nezuko should be able to kill Rui easily. When Tomioka arrives, he'd be shocked to see his acquaintances in insane conditions. Tanjiro's dead body cut into several pieces, and Nezuko being on a bloody rampage. Remember that when Nezuko went on a rampage during the Entertainment District arc, Tanjiro was the only one capable of calming her down and snapping her back to reality. Without Tanjiro, Tomioka would have to take charge of the situation, and given his duty as a Hashira to protect humans, he'd decide to kill Nezuko before she could hurt anyone. With both Tanjiro and Nezuko gone, the Infinity Train mission would go up in flames. In the main story, it took the combined efforts of Tanjiro and Nezuko to wake the rest of the team up from the slumber which Inmu put them in. But without Tanjiro and Nezuko around, Inosuke, Zenitsu, and Rengoku won't be able to wake up in time to save the humans, or maybe they wouldn't even be able to wake up at all. Even if they managed to will themselves up the way Tanjiro did, the mission would still fail horribly because in the original story, Tanjiro was the one who landed the finishing blow on Inmu. With Tanjiro gone, the only one strong enough to slice through Inmu's neck bone would be Rengoku, but even if he pulls it off, Inosuke and Zenitsu aren't strong and fast enough to defend against all of Inmu's violent tentacle attacks like Rengoku did in the main story, so several humans would end up getting killed in the process. The misery wouldn't end there because afterwards, Akaza would show up and face off against Rengoku. After a brutal fight, he'd leave the flame pillar in a donut-like state. Things would get even worse at the Entertainment District without Tanjiro because in the actual story, Tanjiro contributed greatly in the fight against Daki and Gyutaro, and was even the one to land the finishing slash on Gyutaro. So without Tanjiro around, Tengen and his wives would die, and the Upper Six Twins would escape after an epic battle. At Swordsmith Village, Muichiro would defeat Gyoko, but without Tanjiro to aid in the battle against Hantengu, Mitsuri would get killed by Hantengu's strongest clone, Zohakuten, who would also destroy the entire village. With Tanjiro and so many Hashiras dead, the Demon Slayers would lose the battle at the Infinity Castle, and Muzan would spread death and chaos throughout the world. Like I said, the story here ended up being really dark, but that's just one possibility. We've still got 2 more to go. In the next one, Tanjiro actually manifests his sun breathing against Rui, which allows him to survive and have that fiery brawl with Rui. Tomioka would end up saving him, and the arc would play out as it originally did. But after surviving the events of Mount Natagumo, Tanjiro would find himself unable to fully wield the sun breathing technique. At the Infinity Train, Tanjiro would try to finish Inmu like he did in the main story with sun breathing, but his flames would go out before reaching Inmu, causing his sword to break on impact with Inmu's bones. Due to this unfortunate incident, Rengoku would have to kill Inmu by himself, and the Infinity Train mission would fail as several humans aboard the train would be killed. But the pain won't end there, as Akaza would show up and kill Rengoku after an intense battle. Tanjiro would get mentally scarred after the mission because his failure to use sun breathing caused so many deaths. He'd try severally to master the technique, but those attempts would prove worthless, so he decided to cast sun breathing away entirely and focus solely on being a stronger user of water breathing. This would mean that Tanjiro would head into the Entertainment District alongside his allies with nothing but water breathing moves at his disposal. There, Tanjiro, Tengen, Zenitsu, and Inosuke would have an intense battle against Gyutaro and Daki, but they'd run into a problem when the time comes to land the finishing blow on the twins. Gyutaro and Daki have to be decapitated at the same time in order to be fully defeated, and in the main series, sun breathing was highly instrumental in their defeat, as Tanjiro used it along with his Demon Slayer mark to land the finishing attack on Gyutaro, while Inosuke and Zenitsu finished off Daki. But in this case, it would prove to be too difficult because Tanjiro's water breathing is nowhere near strong enough to decapitate Gyutaro, so the attack would fail. Gyutaro and Daki would start attacking them again, but even while poisoned and injured, the squad would do their best to hold them off until Obanai arrives. Obanai would join the rest of the team and they'd succeed in killing Daki and Gyutaro, but not without a cost. Even while injured, Tengen is still a Hashira. That means he'd put himself and his body on the line to protect the younger Demon Slayers even while being at death's door. So, during the battle, he'd get several fatal injuries which would ultimately cause him to die after the demons are gone, similar to how Rengoku did. The Demon Slayers and his wives would mourn him and give him the heroic burial he deserves. Eventually, Tanjiro would go to the Swordsmith Village where Gyoko and Hantengu would end up invading. In the actual story, Tanjiro relied heavily on sun breathing and achieved incredible feats such as blitzing 3 of Hantengu's clones at once, using a modified sun breathing technique to zoom across the battlefield and catch Hantengu, and also destroying Hantengu's real body. Without this breathing style, Tanjiro would be less effective, so things would go off the rails. Muichiro would succeed in killing Gyoko, but Tanjiro wouldn't be fast or strong enough to defeat Hantengu's real body in time. So Zohakuten would end up killing Mitsuri while the main body escaped escapes from sunlight. Things would get worse when the Demon Slayers head into the Infinity Castle. Tanjiro's mastery of the sun breathing played a huge role in Muzan's defeat. Without it, Muzan would easily destroy Tanjiro and win the war. The Demon King would end up killing all the Demon Slayers left in Japan and taking over the world completely. Two horrible endings, yikes. At this point, you're probably thinking that every world where Tanjiro fails to master sun breathing would eventually meet its end. But this third possibility proves that wrong. After manifesting the sun breathing technique for the first time at Mount Nadagumo, Tanjiro would fail in his attempt to master it. He tries several times to use the breathing style, but like Deku from My Hero Academia, his body would break down every single time he tries to use it. But instead of giving up on sun breathing like the previous reality, Tanjiro would keep practicing and end up getting an idea that would change his game forever. Tanjiro's always been an innovative fighter, especially when applying breathing techniques. He's applied modified versions of breathing forms and used a combination of breathing attacks at once in order to survive. At one point during the Entertainment District fight, Tanjiro managed to combine water breathing with sun breathing in order to save Uzui's wife from Gyutaro's attack. What if he was able to do this on a more permanent basis? Since Tanjiro would be incapable of fully mastering sun breathing, he learned to apply what he knew about sun breathing into the water breathing style, which he was already a full user of, creating an entirely new breathing style. A breathing style that would fuse the flowing nature of water breathing with the power and ferociousness of sun breathing, which he would call lava breathing. It's already been explained in the series that several breathing styles were formed by modifying the core elemental breathing styles. So, combining the best properties of two breathing styles to create something new and equally effective would be possible. Tanjiro would use his lava breathing for the first time at the Infinity Train and successfully decapitate Enmu. Akaza would then attack and Rengoku would face off with him. At this point, Tanjiro hasn't fully grown accustomed to his new fighting style, so despite his efforts to join the fight, Rengoku ends up having a heroic death, saving Tanjiro and the gang as well as the passengers on the train. Tanjiro would get frustrated by his own powerlessness, and this would drive him to train more and master his new ability even more. He'd join the team for the Entertainment District mission where they'd face off against Gyutaro and Daki. Using his new breathing style, Tanjiro would perform incredibly well against the Upper Moon siblings. Similar to how things went down in the main story, he'd go all out using his Demon Slayer mark and end up decapitating Gyutaro, while Inosuke and Zenitsu defeat Daki. At the Swordsmith Village, things would go without a hitch. Muichiro would kill Gyoko, and Tanjiro would successfully defeat Hantengu's clones, as well as the main body, while Mitsuri fought off Zohokuten. Soon, Tanjiro and the Demon Slayers would arrive at the Infinity Castle, where they'd have their final fight against the most powerful demons in the world. Tanjiro would end up defeating Akaza with Tomioka's help, and he'd go on to face Muzan. Eventually, Muzan would be defeated after a lengthy battle like the original story, and the world would be saved. From the possibilities, we can see that the only way for Tanjiro and the others to have a happy ending is if Tanjiro gets creative enough to form a unique breathing style that would be equally as effective as sun breathing. Or maybe he'd end up joining Muzan after becoming a demon. What if he got turned into a demon with other potential characters? Well, this is your lucky day because we did it already. Click on this video here to watch how I created the perfect Upper Moon team lineup that can destroy the entire Demon Slayer verse. Click it.
Did you ever wonder what would happen if Tanjiro failed to kill Hantengu? Or what if Nezuko didn't conquer the sun? And best of all, what would happen if our dear Mitsuri died fighting Hantengu? Well, after spending an unhealthy amount of time doing the research, these are the possible outcomes. The battle between Muichiro and Gyoko begins. Gyoko unleashes a surprise attack on our Miss Hashira and traps him in his water prison pot, using his blood demon art to deprive Muichiro of oxygen. Except that in this timeline, Tanjiro's swordsmith, Hotaru, will be killed because Gyoko didn't waste any time talking and proceeded to kill Hagan Nezuka in the shed, but Muichiro will still avenge him by also killing the Upper Moon 5. However, Muichiro will be too tired to stand and collapse, and despite his win, he will fail to deliver Tanjiro's sword. Moving on to the battle between Tanjiro and Hantengu. When they fall off the cliff, Tanjiro dashed to Hantengu with speed and cut him off, without him realizing he did not kill the actual body. Then suddenly, the sun rises, giving them a ray of hope. But following the main timeline, Nezuko kicks Tanjiro to chase Hantengu. Fortunately, Tanjiro reaches his blade against the demon's neck to secure his kill. But wait, are we forgetting something? Well, since Muichiro failed to protect Hotaru in the battle against Gyoko, the final weapon that can really cut Hantengu wouldn't have been delivered to him. Tanjiro would be able to reach his neck, but he wouldn't be able to cut it successfully, allowing Hantengu to devour the humans on the other side of the field and make his escape. Now what happens to Hantengu? Unfortunately, he makes his escape and reports the result to a satisfied Muzan, since despite there was no information on the blue spider lily, they still
manage to wreak havoc on a vital part of the Demon Slayer Corps. This will bring a great impact in the final battle. But before we further explain how the final battle will change, let's first discuss what would happen to Nezuko if she never conquered the sun. Tanjiro rushes towards Hantengu after being catapulted in his direction by Nezuko. Tanjiro, using his sun breathing, immediately gathers momentum by spinning his body in midair and cuts Yoriichi in half while simultaneously beheading Hantengu in his heart as well. Zohakuten vanishes off the face of the earth while Mitsuri manages to sneak in a victory by a hair. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, after making sure that the swordsmiths were okay, Tanjiro rushes towards his sister in order to see her for the last time. As he turns and dashes back, he notices a scene that makes the memories of that fateful day when his family got massacred once again rush back into his mind. Tears flow down Tanjiro's eyes as he notices Nezuko's body half burnt and his dear sister struggling to hold on to her remaining breaths while her brother watches hopelessly. Tanjiro drops to his knees, and as he moves forward to hug his little sister for the very last time, the remaining pieces of her body turn into ash, snatching away Tanjiro's final chance to embrace his little sister. Tanjiro lets out a scream as the Hashiras and the swordsmiths watch him helplessly from afar. Due to Nezuko being unable to conquer the sun, Muzan doesn't show interest in destroying the Demon Slayers completely at that given moment, and goes on with his quest to find the blue spider lilies. Meanwhile, finding out about the Demon Slayer mark, the Hashiras start training toward achieving this state, with most of them successfully gaining the abilities to summon it willingly in about a month. Tanjiro receives a proposal from Kaguya, where he reveals that he's planning to promote him to the rank of a Hashira, as he was the one who fought off multiple clones of Hantengu and beheaded him in the end. Struck with the grief of his sister's death and the guilt of not being strong enough to save her, even after swearing to take care of her in front of his dead mother, Tanjiro refuses to accept the promotion, much like his senpai Giyu, for several months. However, after ignoring mission requests and training his body mercilessly for half a year, Tanjiro is approached by Giyu, Inosuke, and Zenitsu. They try their best to convince him to move on with his life. However, Tanjiro had lost the strength to live. As the three of them talked with Tanjiro, Kaguya enters the room with his wife and a mysterious black-haired boy. Kaguya, sparing no time to settle in, announces that his death is near and that the boy, whose name is Kirya, will take over as the leader from here on out. Everyone is shocked. However, Kaguya, with a bright smile on his face, asks Tanjiro to accept the offer to be a Hashira. He wants Kiraya's first act as leader to be appointing Tanjiro to the rank of Hashira. Tanjiro, looking at the face of Kiraya, reminisces of his time with his siblings and accepts the post of Hashira, with Tanjiro picking up the sword once again as a Hashira and the Demon Slayer mark spreading like wildfire within the Demon Slayers. A new era of Slayer dominance starts flooding the whole of Japan, just like the Sengoku era. This forces Muzan to retreat back to the Infinity Castle for another 64 years due to the raging fear of one man and one man only, Tanjiro Kamada. During these 64 years, the ranks of the Upper Moons were never fully replenished as they kept dying after encountering marked Demon Slayers. With only the 3 Upper Moons surviving the wretched century, Tanjiro passes on to the afterlife due to natural causes at the age of 80, outliving every marked Demon Slayer and passing the torch of the breath of the flame to the will of destiny. At this point, Muzan would come out of hiding and ultimately end up ruling over the world. Wow, so this is a really bad ending. You need to take you by surprise. What if Mitsuri died fighting Hantengu before Tanjiro managed to kill him? Will Zohakuten kill everyone, or will the Slayers come out on top? Let's find out. Mitsuri, while fighting Zohakuten, starts getting pushed back as Zohakuten combines his wooden dragons with his supersonic scream abilities. Mitsuri tries her best to hinder Zohakuten's efforts. However, Mitsuri's attacks soon start to dull as Zohakuten pushes her back. Finally, Zohakuten prepares to lash out another one of his supersonic screams, forcing Mitsuri to take cover. As Mitsuri changes her direction to avoid the scream, a smirk shines across Zohakuten's face as he feigns the scream. Just like in the original timeline, when the sun was about to come up, Mitsuri gave up fighting and apologized to everyone. However, in this timeline, Mitsuri got devoured by Zohakuten because Tanjiro failed to kill Hantengu. Zohakuten moves on to the cliff, where he notices Tanjiro running towards Yoriichi in order to behead him. Genya once again tries to stop Zohakuten in his tracks. However, he attacks him with one of his wooden dragons. Genya successfully manages to evade the dragon. Genya looks back to inquire. However, much to his horror, he notices that Kanamori is crushed by the dragon's head. Genya once again refocuses his attention towards Zohakuten. However, he had already jumped the cliff to head towards Tanjiro. This is where Zohakuten attacked Tanjiro, but Tanjiro dodged his attacks. However, Zohakuten successfully saved his original body, Hantengu, and made a run for it. And let's assume in this scenario too, Nezuko didn't conquer the sun. So coming back to the first fight scenario. Hantengu makes his escape and reports the results to Muzan, and he never knew about Nezuko's immunity because it didn't happen. In summary, we experienced two major character deaths with Mitsuri and Nezuko. Well, the headquarters will turn into an uproar, grieving from the loss in their comrades. In response, they train as hard as they can, which leads us to the Hashira training arc. An angry Tanjiro is affected by this as well, having his dear sister who went through so many hardships with him finally die in his arms. What he's focused on now is just revenge and finally giving Muzan what he deserves. But aside from our main character, this is also especially true for a certain Hashira. Can you guess who it is? Well, it's Obanai, since we all know that he has feelings for Mitsuri. He will be motivated to extremely train his strength past his limits and finally get that Demon Slayer mark much earlier than in the original series. This gives him the upper hand to develop it in the following battles so that no other human will feel the same loss he felt. But aside from that, the arc goes normally as it would. The Demon Slayer Corps train to the best of their abilities to be battle ready against the demon's threat. Now, on to the final showdown, the Infinity Castle arc. In this timeline presents higher stakes for our heroes with the addition of Hantengu's clones. But the bulk of the matchups will continue in the original timeline. So, which battles will change drastically for our heroes? Well, let's start with our first showdown, to the escaped Hantengu. But I have a feeling we already know what's coming for him. Well, he's gonna be a walking dead man since Obanai has diligently prepared for the day that he gets to face Mitsuri's killer. But will Obanai truly be able to avenge his lover's death? Well, absolutely, since Obanai's skills are better than most Hashiras, seeing as in the original timeline in the fight against Muzan, he was able to hold his own against the Demon King for a short period of time. Hantengu will deploy all his clones and eventually activate Zohakuten as he unleashes his ferocious skills. But will this be enough to wreck this version of Obanai? Well, that's an easy question. Of course not. Let's not forget that this Obanai is improved by his early Demon Slayer mark and shared knowledge on Hantengu's abilities that will bring nothing but an easy kill to his lover's killer, especially since Obanai's quick and deadly serpent breathing technique serves to be a menace in rooting out Hantengu's original form. The fight against Kukushibo and Domo will still follow as the original timeline, with the Hashiras like in the original timeline dying. So, are our heroes in the clear? Well, not yet, as the Infinity Castle is not without its master. Namake, the Biwa lady, comes across a wounded Obanai, and just as the exhausted Serpent Hashira can't get enough, he switches to defensive mode in order to preserve energy, defending himself against the castle, twisting and turning against him. But will a wounded Obanai be enough? Well, aside from the Demon Slayers, we also have some good demons on our side that level the competition, like Lady Tamayo, who weakened Muzan. But it is her assistant Yushiro who helps defeat Nakame, as he applies a talisman over her eyes and basically overrides her control to the Infinity Castle, which allows the Demon Slayers to gain the upper hand and save Obanai. But is the increase in odds enough for the final confrontation? Well, with the remaining wounded and exhausted heroes, we see a slim chance of surviving Muzan's onslaught. The fight will progress a lot harder because there is one less Hashira to fight Muzan and a wounded Obanai too. Maybe they'll be able to hold him out until sunrise. This might lead you to think that our journey is all good and done, but not exactly, as we still have one final hurdle remaining: Tanjiro turning into a demon. Unfortunately, Tanjiro's anger doesn't just give him a boost to his combat capabilities, but also gives him the worst side effect of being engulfed by it. This is because in the original timeline, Nezuko was supposed to be his anchor, which eventually helped him overcome his demonization on top of Kanao's injection. Adding to that, Nezuko isn't here anymore to stop him from moving and attacking the others. Unfortunately, in this timeline, without Nezuko's presence, Tanjiro is able to succeed in his complete demonization, all while causing the deaths of Inosuke, Zenitsu, Kanao, and all the Demon Slayer Corps who he once called family. In this major turn of events, he takes over Muzan's will and powers and transforms humanity into a whole new horrific demon era, with a demon king who can now walk the sun to eternity. But could things get even better? Well, click on this video to see how Tanjiro alone will go against all the upper moons. Arigato!
What would happen if Nezuko fought every single upper moon in Demon Slayer? Who could she beat, and who would beat her? Well, I've split Nezuko into 4 levels of strength, so let's start off at Nezuko's weakest form. Can she even defeat one upper moon? She's got no flames, no horn, no advanced regeneration, meaning that against most of the upper moons, she would get completely destroyed. But there are 2 demons she might have a chance against. Daki would underestimate her because of Nezuko's childlike appearance. She might get caught off guard by a surprise kick, but Nezuko's lack of technique means she wouldn't last long. Gyoko also wouldn't take her seriously. His vase techniques would confuse her, and even if she landed a hit, he'd just teleport away or regenerate instantly. So out of the 6 upper moons, at level 1, Nezuko wouldn't be able to kill a single one. This is just level 1 Nezuko. We still have 3 3 more forms to go until we reach her strongest version. Nezuko's second form is where things start to change. She now has her blood demon art, Exploding Blood, along with much faster regeneration and far stronger physical power. She also enters her berserk mode, where a horn grows from her head, her limbs are covered in vine-like tattoos, and she becomes nearly uncontrollable. This is the form she used to fight Daki in the anime, and in this form, she could absolutely kill her. Daki would attack first using her obi slashes to try and slice Nezuko apart, but Nezuko's new regeneration means she'd recover almost instantly. Even when she was split in half by Daki in the anime, she managed to pull her body back together with her own blood and reattach herself. Nezuko would then counter with a devastating kick strong enough to smash Daki through several buildings and even sever her head in one hit. Daki would regenerate but now be on the defensive. Nezuko's flames would burn through her obi sashes and stop them from regenerating quickly, making each hit more effective. The fight would only last a minute before Daki is overwhelmed and defeated. But this fight isn't over yet. Gyutaro would then emerge from her body, and this is where things get dangerous. Gyutaro's blood sickles are coated in deadly poison, and he's much faster and stronger than Daki. Nezuko would struggle here because she still doesn't have full control over her berserk state, and her flames take a toll on her body. The fight would be intense. Nezuko would land a few solid hits, but Gyutaro would stab her with his poison sickles. Eventually, her regeneration would slow down and she would fall unconscious, meaning that in this form, Nezuko can kill Daki but loses to Gyutaro. Kaigaku is the newest Upper Moon. He took Gyutaro's place as Upper Moon 6, and while he's not as experienced, his potential is scary. He was a former demon slayer, trained in thunder breathing, and after turning into a demon, he developed the blood demon art that lets him control black lightning. His attacks are fast, wide-ranged, and leave behind electricity that burns and tears the body. He completely overpowered Zenitsu at the start of their fight, but when he faces second form Nezuko, things go differently. The fight would start fast. Kaigaku keeps his distance, firing Thunder Swarm and Distant Thunder. Each strike lands and shocks Nezuko's body, but Nezuko doesn't go down. She charges through it like she did against Daki, regenerating instantly and tackling Kaigaku mid-attack. He tries to use Heat Lightning to break free, but Nezuko slams him to the ground and ignites her blood, setting his body on fire. Kaigaku panics. He's not used to fighting demons, especially one that doesn't flinch. He goes for his ultimate, Rumble and Flash, a series of massive lightning blasts. But Nezuko takes the hit, and while her body is burning, she reforms mid-air and finishes with an axe kick that caves in his skull. Kaigaku's regeneration activates, but the exploding blood slows it too much. He gets burned before he can fight back. So even though level 2 Nezuko loses to Gyutaro, she defeats Kaigaku because his attacks lack the poison, and his inexperience costs him the fight. Can level 2 Nezuko defeat Gyoko? At level 2, Nezuko has raw power, exploding blood, and insane physical strength, but she lacks control and strategy. That's a problem against Gyoko. Gyoko's fighting style is bizarre. He attacks with fish demons, ink bullets, and teleportation. And if things go bad, he transforms into his true form, where he gains massive speed and can crush opponents with his fists. Level 2 Nezuko might surprise him with her berserk strength. She could destroy his vases and burn his summoned fish. But Gyoko would just teleport away, regenerate his pots, and attack from a new angle. Eventually, he'd hit her with poison ink and explosive fish, and her lack of tactical awareness would leave her open. Even her exploding blood wouldn't be enough because she'd missed too many chances. So at level 2, Nezuko loses to Gyoko. But what about Form 3 Nezuko? This is a totally different fight. Form 3 Nezuko is where she becomes a real threat. This is the version that fought in the Swordsmith Village arc. She now has full control over her demon transformation, meaning she can use her flames without going berserk. She also has regeneration on par with the Upper Moons and can fight while thinking strategically. On top of that, her flames can now delay the regeneration of other demons and enhance Nichiren weapon. This is the strongest version of Nezuko before she becomes immune to sunlight. She dodged the fish summons, burned the ink with her exploding blood, and destroyed each pot before Gyoko could teleport again. If Gyoko transformed, she'd meet him head on, and this time her regeneration and flames would let her tank his blows and burn him faster than he can heal. In this form, Nezuko's blood demon art would give her the edge. She'd fake Gyoko into attacking, then explode her own blood on his body, melting his limbs and burning his core until it couldn't regenerate anymore. So, Form 3 Nezuko defeats Gyoko. Next up, we'll see what happens when level 3 Nezuko takes on Hantengu and all of his emotion clones. This is where things start to get wild. Against Hantengu, she would be fighting 4 powerful clones at once, each with unique abilities. Sekiro has lightning attacks, Karaku uses wind blasts, Aizetsu has long-range yachty techniques, and Irogi has flight and sonic attacks. In the Swordsmith Village, Nezuko was already able to hold her own against multiple clones, even saving Tanjiro from being crushed by Zohakuten. This time, without needing to protect anyone, she could go all out. She'd start by targeting Karaku, using her kicks to break his fan and her flames to burn his body. Aizetsu would try to impale her, but she'd dodge and counter with a flaming slash that stops his regen. Urogi's Sonic Scream would disorient her, but her regeneration would recover fast enough to keep fighting. Sakito's lightning would be the real problem. It could paralyze her briefly, allowing the other clones to attack. But Nezuko's exploding blood could burn all of them at once if timed right. She would eventually burn through each of the regeneration windows one by one, but the fight wouldn't end there. Once the 4 clones are weakened, Sakito would absorb the rest and become Zohakuten, the fusion form. This version can summon wooden dragons, each using a different ability. Zohakuten would be the strongest opponent Nezuko has faced so far. His range and power would overwhelm her, and unless she burns the wooden dragons, she wouldn't be able to reach him. If she combines her physical strength with a full-body flame burst, she might be able to injure him. But even then, Zohakuten would regenerate too quickly. Eventually, Nezuko's stamina would run out, and she would collapse. So while Form 3 Nezuko could defeat the clones individually, she would lose to Zohakuten. Nakime is tricky. She's not a direct fighter. She's the Upper Moon 4 after Hantengu's death, and her entire Blood Demon art is spatial manipulation. She controls the Infinity Castle, can teleport anywhere, reshape rooms, and trap her enemies by constantly shifting the environment. She was able to restrain multiple Hashira at once, and she nearly caught Obanai and Mitsuri without even fighting. Her strategy is pure defense and control, while using her Biwa to change the battlefield and crush opponents. Against Form 3 Nezuko, this would be a strange fight. Nakime wouldn't attack directly, she'd teleport Nezuko over and over, dropping walls, twisting the floor, and trying to disorient her. Nezuko would respond by exploding blood across surfaces, burning through the castle and slowing Nakime's control. She could tank falling debris and regenerate from crushing damage. But the real advantage is that Nezuko doesn't need to find her. Nakime's brain is outside her body. If Nezuko can sense the Biwa sound or catch her actual body even once, she could finish the fight. This version of Nezuko has the awareness and control to figure that out. Eventually, she'd destroy enough of the castle to expose Nakime's location, rush her, and burn her with exploding blood before she could teleport again. So, against Nakime, Form 3 Nezuko wins. But it would take time, and it wouldn't be easy. Nakime's down, and that just leaves the top 3 Upper Moons, Akaza, Doma, and Kokushibo. In this fight, Form 3 Nezuko would get obliterated and be finished in second. But what if she unlocked her final form? Sunlight Immune Nezuko at full power? Could she defeat the rest of the Upper Moons? Akaza, Doma, and Kokushibo? Form 4 Nezuko is her strongest version. This is the form where she becomes immune to sunlight, something no demon has ever done. In this state, she retains full control over her powers. Her regeneration is instant. Her strength rivals the Upper Moons, and her blood demon art can burn through even the toughest enemies. This is the form that marks her as a true monster. Now, how will she go against Akaza? Akaza is built different. He's not just strong, he's adaptive, fast, and durable beyond reason. His technique development lets him read battle patterns and predict movements like a living combat AI. Nezuko's unpredictability helps her early on. She dodges a few hits, lands a strong kick, burns his arm with exploding blood, but Akaza adapts fast. His body adjusts to her timing, and his compass needle starts predicting her movement. She uses flames to push back, but Akaza's regeneration keeps up, and he gets stronger the longer he fights. Meanwhile, Nezuko starts slowing down. Her biggest weakness is stamina. She has power, but not endurance for drawn-out battles. Akaza has both. He tanks her flames, gets back up, and starts landing clean hits. One punch breaks her ribs, one kick crushes her skull. She regenerates, but slower each time, and her flames start losing effect. In the end, Akaza overwhelms her, breaking her body down bit by bit until she can't get up anymore. So even after all this, Akaza would still lose. Do you know why? Well, if you remember, Akaza does not fight women, so he will just let her win. And also, you should subscribe now before we see Doma's fight, so do so now! Doma is the second strongest demon in the 12 Kizuki, and he's the most dangerous one Nezuko would ever face. She enters the fight in her final form, Sunlight Immune, fully conscious, perfect regeneration, and complete mastery over exploding blood. And for the first minute, it looks like she's winning. Her flames melt through the ice, her strength cracks his clones, and her regeneration negates his constant area attacks. But Doma is unlike any other Upper Moon. He doesn't feel pain, he doesn't feel anger, and he doesn't get caught off guard. His ice is deadly, but it's not the raw damage that's the problem. It's how it spreads. How it creeps into every corner of the battlefield. Into Nezuko's lungs, into her blood, into her limbs. Her flames can melt it, but not fast enough, because Doma doesn't stop. He floods the entire space with cold mist, lotus flowers, fans, ice spears, everything at once. Nezuko burns through waves of it again and again, but each time she does, she loses stamina. And unlike Doma, she needs to breathe, to think, to move. Eventually, her movements slow, her flames shrink, and Doma starts freezing her regeneration. One cut becomes two. Two cuts stop healing, and the ice builds faster than she can melt it. She lands one final kick, burns his chest, nearly blows his head off, but he reforms midair, smiling like nothing happened. And that's the problem. Doma doesn't get tired. Nezuko does, so in the end, she's still standing, but she can't win. She can't kill him, and Doma walks away as the victor. So even in her strongest state, Nezuko can't defeat Akaza or Doma. She might survive, but can't finish them. But what of Kokushibo? The strongest demon beneath Muzan. The demon who defeated multiple Hashiras and lived for over 400 years. Can Nezuko beat him? Kokushibo is on a different level than every other Upper Moon. He was once a demon slayer and the brother of the sun-breathing founder, Yoriichi Sugikuni. After turning into a demon, he kept all of his combat skills and gained a blood demon art that allowed him to create crescent blades with each sword swing. Nezuko's flames won't help much here. Kokushibo's attacks don't rely on poison or ice. They're pure swordsmanship, enhanced with deadly range and overwhelming speed. He can launch multiple slashes from a single swing, each with unpredictable angles that would slice through buildings and even other Upper Moon. At the start, Nezuko would dodge a few attacks, maybe land a hit or two. Her speed and regeneration would keep her alive longer than most, but Kokushibo wouldn't get serious until he sees her survive the first barrage. Then he would activate his true form, a monstrous body covered in eyes, with a sword grown from his flesh. At that point, the fight would shift. Kokushibo's reaction speed would surpass even her regeneration. He could cut her into pieces faster than she could reattach them. Even her exploding blood wouldn't burn fast enough to stop his healing. And with no sword, she wouldn't be able to clash with his red blade. Nezuko would keep fighting because she doesn't know how to quit. But in the end, Kokushibo's experience and technique would be too much for even her final form. So in the end, Sunlight Immune Nezuko loses to Kokushibo. What do you think? And who will win? But what if Tanjiro fought them instead? We'll click on this video to watch it.
What would happen if the legendary Yoriichi fought against the entire might of the Upper Moons? Could he be able to beat each one of them? Being the man who defeated the Demon King and gave him PTSD, I think the odds are totally in his favor. But is fighting one villain the same as fighting all of them at once? Starting with the lowest rank among the Upper Moons, what consequences do you think would unfold if Yoriichi fought against the upper rank 6 Daki, Gyutaro, and Kaigaku? Daki is all about using her beauty and tricks to try and fool her enemies. But hold up, Yoriichi's determination is too strong to fall for her game. Daki would come at him real quick, showing off her strength and crazy powers. But Yoriichi's sun breathing would cut right through her sashes, and that's a huge threat to her. His attacks will be intense, packing some serious heat, and they would counter all of Daki's attacks. But will she be able to put up a fight? Well, Daki also has impressive regeneration, can manipulate her hair, and share her senses with her brother, which will really put Yoriichi to the test. That if he isn't as fast as his speed of sound. As much as Daki has a never-ending sadistic attacks at her disposal, with her alone fighting and without the help of her brother, she would be a piece of cake for Yoriichi. Now, let's dive into Gyutaro, her brother, the true upper rank 6. How would he do against the greatest demon slayer that ever lived? Well, he would probably go all out on Yoriichi, but we all know Yoriichi. The sun-breathing master will fight back just as hard and wouldn't even break a sweat at all. Their clash will be a show of pure power and skill. Yoriichi's sun-breathing gives him an advantage because it's not called the strongest breathing form for nothing. But like all upper rank demons, Gyutaro can take a beating and heal up real fast. However, fighting against Yoriichi is another thing. The demon's flesh manipulation and poison generation abilities are surely going to be a hassle for him, especially if he can't find Daki. But will that be enough? Well, knowing Yoriichi's experience, he would probably figure out Gyutaro and Daki's weakness and take them out both in one hit. It's important to take note though that it requires decapitating both siblings simultaneously to completely obliterate them. This might be somewhat annoying, but it's nothing to be worried about. If Yoriichi had to fight Kaigaku, the replacement of the siblings, however, it would be like a showdown between a master and his buddy gone bad. Kaigaku's jealousy and selfishness due to his self-preservation will certainly be his downfall. Yoriichi's crazy sword skills and the power of the sun breathing will go head to head with Kaigaku's messed up thunder breathing combat style, which developed in his blood demon art, giving him the ability to manipulate lightning and electricity. So, will anything interesting happen in this fight? Well, Yoriichi will most likely try to convince Kaigaku to go back to the Demon Slayer Corps, and they'll try to turn him back into a human. It's like a fight that's not just about winning, but also about bringing someone back from the dark side. Kaigaku rejects this offer. Well, he would have been better off getting one hit by Zenitsu. Moving on, Gyoko the Upper Moon 5 against Yoriichi is something fans don't think about a lot, so what would happen? Well, if Yoriichi went head-to-head with Gyoko, it'll surely be an interesting clash between Yoriichi's sun-breathing technique and Gyoko's blood demon art. Gyoko can teleport himself through his vases and set up deadly traps, making him a tough nut to crack, but Yoriichi's got some lightning-fast moves, and maybe Gyoko can't keep up. But, are we sure about that? Well, Yoriichi's blazing hot sun-breathing might even weaken Gyoko's structures, giving him the upper hand, but don't underestimate Gyoko's flesh manipulation and aquatic-themed blood demon art. Yoriichi's gotta be quick on his feet if he wants to catch Gyoko before he manages to kill every last swordsmith. This fight is all about strategy and adaptability. Yoriichi's gotta figure out Gyoko's moves and come up with a plan to overcome his tricky vases. In the end, seeing how Morichiro was able to solo this guy, Yoriichi doesn't have to worry about anything. But, how exactly will he win? Well, the outcome of this battle all comes down to Yoriichi's ability to outsmart Gyoko and take advantage of his weak points. But seeing that he has Transparent World, which allows him to predict his opponent's movements accurately, he's got the dub. Moving up the Upper Moon ladder, we now have Tengu versus Yoriichi. So how does this crybaby demon go up against the Sigma male? Well, if Yoriichi went up against Tengu would cry a lot, and this fight might have the most scenarios, each with its unique powers and trick-like illusions and transformations. Yoriichi's gotta keep his eyes peeled and adapt quickly to find the real Tengu, using his precise strikes and adaptability to use Transparent World to sniff him out. The multiple Tengu entities will team up to overwhelm Yoriichi, testing his speed and quick thinking. But, will this be enough to beat the man who's basically a demon for demons? Well, certainly not, seeing as even in Tengu's strongest form, Zohakuten was defeated by demon slayers that are far away from Yoriichi's level. Yoriichi's sun-breathing will just slice through Zohakuten's wood manipulation and make short work of those wood dragons and find the small Tengu which he'll make demon sushi out of. How about their replacement? How will Nakame fight against Yoriichi? Well, if Yoriichi went head-to-head with Nakame, the new upper rank 4, it'd totally be a different showdown. Nakame with their crazy blood demon art of messing with space has the power to create and control the Infinity Castle, which makes her a very annoying enemy that Mitsuri and Obanai had trouble with. She can warp anywhere in the castle, trap her enemies, and twist space to her advantage. Yoriichi has got to think extra hard about his moves so he doesn't get trapped and waste time, but with his experience, he'll definitely catch up to her sooner than later, and Nakame will just be another number on his demon kill count. Entering the top 3 of the 12 Kizuki, it will be an epic showdown as Yoriichi goes head-to-head with Akaza, one of the top dogs among the Upper Moons. So, can Akaza put up a fight? Well, Akaza's known for his crazy strength and speed, and he'll surely throw relentless attacks fueled by his blood demon art, but not after he gets scared to death courtesy of Muzan's PTSD. This battle will turn into a jaw-dropping display of pure scale and power, and the animation might be anything better than we've seen before. It's monster against monster, but the blazing heat and blinding light from Yoriichi's sun-breathing gives him an advantage as it will mess with Akaza's focus and ability to heal. But hold up, Akaza's no slouch. He's tough as nails and can heal in the blink of an eye. But are you forgetting something? Well, even if he could regenerate faster than the previous Upper Moons, like when he fought Rengoku, Yoriichi can stop him from doing that by making his Nichiren sword bright red, which even stopped Muzan himself from regenerating. So in the end, this battle maniac will disintegrate as if he didn't even kill dozens of Hashiras. But we're not done yet. The next demons will probably make Yoriichi put in a bit more effort. Or will they? And if you liked this video so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. So what would it be like if Yoriichi fought against the top 2 of the Upper Moon, you ask? Well, I can imagine Doma's got this freezing battlefield on lockdown, cranking up the cold to give Yoriichi a real run for his money. But our man Yoriichi has got some tricks up his sleeve, and this will ultimately become a battle of ice versus a literal sun. This battle will be a sight to behold, with flames blazing and lighting up the whole place. Yoriichi's all about precision and speed, going head-to-head with Doma's cryokinesis and extraordinary perception. And if you know basic thermodynamics, you'll know who wins. But is Doma going down that easily? Well, Doma's blood demon art is quite a hassle, especially since it affects the environment. Doma's rhyme, Water Lily Bodhisattva, will put up quite a challenge. However, seeing as Yoriichi may even be faster than Shinobu and Kano, he can most likely blitz Doma in one fast move. It's gonna be one of the most eye-catching battles for sure, but if Doma's carelessness gets the better of him, he won't even have a chance at releasing his blood demon art. Lastly, we're going to take a look at the battle that never finished. Brother against brother, Yoriichi versus Kokushibo. We all know the answer to this one, but what if Yoriichi fought against the current Kokushibo, who had more than enough time to improve his swordsmanship? Will he be able to alter the outcome? Well, it's safe to say that it wouldn't change a lot. Of course, Kokushibo won't get demolished like he did the last time they faced off, but Yoriichi's in his prime, and now he's even meaner than ever. Take note that Yoriichi almost killed Kokushibo even when he was on the verge of dying because of old age, and the only reason Kokushibo didn't get killed was because Yoriichi died because he was too old. But this time he's facing Yoriichi, who isn't only old, but is also in his strongest form yet. In a blink of an eye, Yoriichi would complete what should have been done a long time ago, and Kokushibo will definitely regret becoming a demon. Now, for the great greatest what if for this video. What if Yoriichi fought against all of them at once? Well, it would be intense and it will be one of the greatest battles in all of anime manga. So, let me break it down for you. Each Upper Moon is a force to be reckoned with on their own. They've got crazy abilities that make them formidable opponents. But when these bad boys team up, their combined strength becomes something extraordinary. If they could have located the Demon Slayer's headquarters before the final fight, it's safe to say that the Upper Moons alone could give the demons an overwhelming victory. But will they win against Yoriichi? Well, the battlefield will become pure chaos. Yoriichi's gonna need to put more work in because he's gonna be facing coordinated attacks from multiple sides. With each Upper Moon using their unique skills to overwhelm him, it's gonna take calculated strikes and lightning-fast reflexes to find weaknesses and make the most of those fleeting opportunities in the madness. Now, with Yoriichi's technique, this can work in his favor, disrupting the coordination and focus of the Upper Moons. It creates those brief moments where Yoriichi can strike back. But here's the thing, it can also make him a big target. Those Upper Moons won't let up, and they'll be coming at him with everything they've got. But we'll leave this to you, the viewers, to decide who will win this epic showdown. Will it be Muzan's strongest, or will it be the greatest demon slayer that ever lived? Comment down below who you think will win, and of course, you gotta tell us why. But one more thing, have you ever wondered, what if Muzan sent all the demon moons to eliminate the Demon Slayer cores? Find out in this thrilling video.
What do you think will happen if Muzan sent the entire Demon Moons to eliminate the Demon Slayer Corps? How will this intense battle happen between the Demon Slayer Corps and the Demon Moons? Well, sit still because we've done all the research for you, so you don't need to worry. Anyway, let's get to the story already. Muzan has had enough of the Ubayashiki family already, and is desperate to eliminate him along with his precious Demon Slayers somehow. The Upper Moons are all summoned and briefed about Muzan's thoughts on ending the Slayers once and for all. Everyone except Kugashibo is in acceptance, as he clearly understands that Muzan's desperation and the underestimated strength of the Demon Slayer Corps might be the end of their tyranny. However, he complies with his master's wishes anyway, like a good demon would, and prepares for battle. They locate the Ubayashiki estate just before a fated Hashira meeting, and to their dismay, Kugashibo's predicted grim future has already become a reality. So, let's get the small fries out of the way. As soon as the demons would invade the estate, a lot of low-ranked demon slayers, especially the Mizunotos, would all be signed up for a mercy kill, and the lower demons too would be taken out by either some of the Hashira or the other high-ranked demon slayers. So, the actual battle would be the one between the 9 Hashiras and the 6 Upper Moons. Now, for all the people who've not watched the anime or read the manga, this might seem like a winning situation for the corpse. However, the truth could not be farther from reality here. Anyways, there would actually be a few Kino-level slayers and a few Sugokus present to assist the Hashiras, but they wouldn't really make a difference against the Phenoms. So, back to the story. The Demon Slayers have suffered a huge setback but have killed all the lower moons. Therefore, we've got a flamboyant lineup of 6 moons who will be partaking in the lovely slaughterfest of the Demon Slayer Corps. First up, we've got the Edgelord, Kugashibo, the creepily jovial character, Doma, the messed up backstory, Akaza, the pathological liar, Hantengu, the water fetish dude, Gyoko, the sister lover, Gyotaro, and the Uggo mistress, Daki, versus the blind buff dude, Gyome, the polygamist, Tengen, the terrestrial Dori, Muchiro due to his memory, the mandatory over-sexualized female character, Mitsuri, the dude everyone tolerates, Saname, the antisocial procrastinator, Giyu, the I'm late in the anime too girl, Shinobu, the public favorite, Rengoku, the oh yeah, he's a Hashira too, Obanai, and the deadweight, Kaguya. We're going to be honest here, the power scale does tilt a lot towards the demon side, but the Hashiras too have quite a few tricks up their sleeves as well. As the battle is about to begin, Tanjiro and his squad arrive. He's with Inosuke, Zenitsu, Genya, Kanao, and Nezuko. The overtly cold Obanai yells at them for arriving late in sighs and frustration as they came with the demon girl Nezuko. Saname reveals that they were supposed to have arrived over an hour ago, and he screams in a threatening manner at them, saying that they will be punished after he makes mincemeat of the Upper Moon demons. Zenitsu is shaking in fright and almost pees himself as he states that Inosuke chased after some wild animals in the bush, and they all had to chase after him. It took a long time before they could catch and restrain him, while Kanao and Genya helped them chart their way back to the meeting venue. Tanjiro and his crew are surprised to see the terrible Upper Moons here, and they know they are about to be involved in a battle of the ages, the fight for their lives, and the survival of the Ubayashiki family. The fight will begin with Kugashibo unleashing his devastating sword slashes upon the Slayers, and as the strongest among the Hashiras, Gyome is sure to not let this provocation go ignored, as he'll step out to face Kukushibo himself. Although Guillaume doesn't really have the power to finish off Kukushibo himself, he'll definitely provide some sort of deterrence for the other Hashiras against his attacks, so that way they can settle up with their opponents. Doma will almost definitely go in for the ladies and will corner Mitsuri and Shinobu, which I believe is not going to work well for his overall health. Not because Shinobu has prepared a perfect counter for him, but due to the fact that eating one kind of meal for an extended period of time is not particularly good for your health. And as we all know, Doma has been eating women for over a century. Next up, Akaza will definitely be pissed off over the antics of Kukushibo and Doma, as one hogs the most powerful opponent and the other is literally a thorn in his side no matter what he does. However, he'll definitely be impressed by the movements of Muichiro, as he'll definitely realize that the boy is young and certainly a prodigy. However, Muichiro won't be enough to hold off the enemy, so Saname will definitely join in on the battle due to his very calm demeanor. Hantengu will apologize to everyone before transforming into Zohakuten and raining down thunder on the Slayers. He'll be challenged by Obanai because of his annoying demeanor and will be helped by the Lord of Flashiness himself, as thunder is an element he's comfortable fighting with. Giyu will take on Gyoko while shutting off his nonsensical art talk, while the terrible sibling duo will try their luck with the flame Hashira Rengoku. All the other Slayers will probably stay out of the way of the Hashiras, as getting in between numerous fights that they cannot even see will be a fate worse than jumping under a hydraulic press. The fights look pretty evenly matched. However, there's one thing that we must consider. Even if the Hashiras draw their battles towards a stalemate in terms of strength, they're definitely going to lose out when it comes down to endurance. However, strong and tolerant the Hashiras may be, fighting these insanely dangerous opponents for an extended period of time is going to chip away at their stamina pretty quickly. And not to forget that they are not the primary targets, as the Moons are here to end the Ubuyashiki family and kill a few Hashiras as a bonus. As the fight progresses in the moonlit night, Guillaume begins to struggle against Kukushibo. Genya assists him with flesh guns shooting at Kukushibo. However, the Upper Moon 1, who was formerly a demon slayer, is not moved. He flings the now weakened Guillaume across the room and rushes at Genya, tearing Saname's younger brother apart from limb to limb in a terrific manner. In a sneaky show of force while looking over the blood all over him, Kukushibo is decapitated by Guillaume, but this just leads to the Upper Moon 1 undergoing a new transformation. And in this form, he makes light work of Guillaume, impaling the stone Hashira severely with his sword made of his own living flesh. Seeing Guillaume take his last breath, Muichiro leaves the battle against Akaza as he decides to try and save the stone Hashira, but is too late as he gets himself involved in a battle with Kukushibo. The prodigy gets to work, slicing part of Kukushibo in a wide array of attacks, ensuring that the demon doesn't have the time to regenerate. It's looking like Muichiro will achieve the unthinkable when Kukushibo lets out a loud demonic laughter. He praises the skill of Muichiro, saying that at this young age, Muichiro is certainly better than he was as a youngster. He transforms his body and restrains the young boy, giving him an option to become a demon like him too. However, Muichiro refuses and Kukushibo does not repeat himself. He makes a clean cut and the head of the demon slayer can be seen flying off into the open field. Kukushibo has taken out 2 Hashiras and the fight is just beginning. There was something that happened before the fight, and it is subscribe now or Muzan will eat up Nezuko. Just kidding, but hey, subscribe. So with Muichiro leaving the battle against Akaza, Shinobu will sacrifice herself, like in the original story, to give Mitsuri a chance at victory against Doma. However, Kukushibo won't allow any of that to happen. Rengoku, with his excellent strength and battle perception, will soon find out how to defeat Daki and Gyataro. He'll create an opening and slash both their heads using his 9th form. Rengoku will then move on to assist Gyu in his fight against Gyoko, and with 2 insanely powerful Hashiras, his teleportation will falter, with him ending up under the sword of one of them. Meanwhile, Obanai will definitely be smart enough to guide Tengen to the real body of Hantengu. However, Zohakuten will kill Obanai mercilessly and go after Tengen to finish him off as well. Tengen will be assisted by Tanjiro and Nezuko. The flashy Hashira will put his speed to use and decapitate the real Hantengu, making Zohakuten turn ashy. With Shinobu and Mitsuri now dead, Doma tells Kukushibo not to interfere in his battles anymore. The former upper rank 6, who is now the upper rank 2, spots Zenitsu and Inosuke running towards an intense battle where we can see lights clashing. He appears in their front, stopping their run. He begins to toy with them until Kanao arrives. From their discussion, he finds out that she has some form of relationship with Kanae. He believes that it is his destiny to eat her, and he wants to relish the dish. He refuses to kill Zenitsu and Inosuke yet. He keeps toying with them. He wants them to feel despair as they watch him eat Kanao. Saname arrives and helps the youngsters, leading the battle against Doma. Zenitsu finally activates his Demon Slayer mark in this battle, but he dies later on. Kanao also dies, and when Doma is finally defeated, only Saname and Inosuke are left standing. Inosuke is badly injured though, and he dies after some time. Rengoku, Giyu, and Tengen will take on Kokushibo, while Tanjiro, Saname, and Nezuko fight off Akaza. After a long, drawn-out battle that sees our favorite girl, Nezuko, lose her life, Tanjiro is on the floor, almost unconscious from loss of blood. We see Saname clutching onto Akaza's head as he holds the now decapitated head of the Upper Moon 3 as his latest trophy. Saname tells Tanjiro to take his time and rest while he goes off to join the battle against Kokushibo. Tanjiro promises that he will come as fast as he can. On getting to the venue, all Saname can see is destroyed houses. He follows an underground alley and sees the dead body of Rengoku, who died while protecting Tengen from Kokushibo's blood demon art. Saname screams out in rage as he attacks Kokushibo, providing an opening for Giyu and Tengen to land their vital attacks. With the use of their marks in Transparent World, they are able to give the Upper Moon 1 a run for his money, but it doesn't end without casualty, as Tengen soon succumbs to his wounds and joins his wives in the other world. Tanjiro finally arrives, and it is now Tanjiro, Saname, and Giyu against Kokushibo. The tide is shifted in the favor of the Hashiras due to the vital hits that the Upper Moon has previously been dealt. Just then, the weather changes. The Hashiras are on their guard, knowing that something is about to happen. It gets cloudy. A storm is coming. However, it's just the demonic Michael Jackson that makes his way onto the stage. The Hashiras, seeing him, know that all hope is lost. However, Saname gives a rousing pep talk to his two colleagues. What do you think the Hashiras will do in this situation? Will they run away? Or will they stay and fight as the last line of defense for humanity against the demonic scourge that is about to sweep over all the lands? Your guess is as good as mine. Muzan tells Kokushibo to stand down. Tanjiro, Saname, and Giyu stand their ground, but they are no match for the Demon Lord, who makes light work of the already tired mere mortals, spits on their corpses, and proceeds to kill off the Ubuyashika family. What follows is a slaughter like no other. The Demon Slayer Corps is completely destroyed, and everyone with a hint of affiliation with them is hunted down and killed. Muzan continues to rule the land with the new set of demons he creates. However, Nezuko's death means that he would never be able to walk into the brightness of the sun. The Demon Lord won, but is now confined eternally to the darkness. Thank you for reaching the end. YouTube thinks this is the video you should watch next. Come on, check it out.
What if the Upper Moons attack during the Hashira training arc? Will this bring an end to the Demon Slayers or end to the Demon's side? How will the fight play out? Well, during the Hashira training in the main story, Muzan sent the new Upper Moon 4, Nakime, to scatter her demonic eyes all over the Demon Slayer headquarters in order to find the dwelling place of Kagaya Ubuyashiki as well as Nezuko. He did nothing to interrupt or impair the Hashira training process, but in this version of the story, Muzan uses some of his brains and would decide to take things to a chaotic max and send his Upper Moon demons, Kokushibo, Akaza, Kaigaku, and Doma, to invade the training grounds and wreak some havoc. Nakimi would of course be excluded from this affair since she isn't really much of a fighter outside of the Infinity Castle. However, she'd be playing a much more important role to Muzan, as she's not only the one who's in charge of locating Muzan's targets, but also her Infinity Castle manipulation ability allows her to instantly send Muzan and his forces to the battlefield and retrieve them if things get out of hand. So she's basically their Uber and get away from jail free card. The Hashira training would kick off the usual way, with the average Joe Demon Slayers being put through hell by the Hashiras and Tanjiro eventually joining after fully recovering from his injuries. Things would take a turn when demons swarm the Demon Slayer headquarters, and the Demon Slayers are now forced to abandon their training in order to slay the demonic horde and save their lives. This, of course, happens during the start of the arc when Tanjiro is in a sparring match with Tengen as part of his stamina training. After their mock battle, Tengen praised Tanjiro for his improved skills, but their little bonding session is disrupted when a group of ugly-looking demons surround them. Tanjiro immediately takes up arms against them to protect the surrounding demon slayers as he uses his Hinokami Kagra Sun Halo Dragon Head dance to behead them in a stylish fashion. Seeing that, Tengen smiles and says, "Kamado, now that's flashy." Tengen demonstrated how much of a badass fighter he was as the Sound Hashira during the Entertainment District arc. Despite being retired, Tengen isn't exactly the kind of guy who would see a swarm of demons and not take action, so he uses his bead bombs and other shinobi weapons to take out a bunch of demons, until his wives bring his Nichiren weapon. We already saw during the fight against Gyutaro that even with one hand, Tengen is an absolute monster on the battlefield, so he has no problems using his sound breathing to behead all the remaining demons in the area. But that's when things take a turn for the worst. Suddenly, a chilling aura envelops the training grounds. Akaza, Upper Moon 3, appears out of nowhere, his presence a dark and menacing shadow. His eyes lock onto Tanjiro, burning with a mixture of hatred and excitement. "Tanjiro Kamado!" Akaza yells, his voice dripping with malice. "I've been looking forward to this." Tanjiro's eyes flare with rage as memories memories of Rengoku's last moments flood his mind. Akaza, you'll pay for what you did to Rengoku. Akaza's grin widens. And you called me a coward. How quaint. Let's see if you can back up those words. Tengen steps forward, his eyes narrowing. Stay back, Tanjiro. This one's mine. With a roar, Tengen launches himself at Akaza, swinging his massive dual blades with deadly precision. Sound breathing, fifth form, string performance. The air vibrates with the force of his attack, creating a shockwave that aims to cut Akaza down. Akaza counters with destructive death, compass needle. A shockwave of his own that collides with Tengen's, the resulting explosion shaking the ground beneath them. Tengen-san! Tanjiro shouts, his grip tightening on his sword. We have to fight together! Tengen glances back, his expression grim but resolute. Stay sharp, Tanjiro. This demon is no ordinary foe. Akaza smirks, relishing the challenge. Come, show me your resolve. Tengen and Tanjiro move in perfect harmony, their attacks complementing each other's styles. Tengen unleashes a flurry of strikes with sound-breathing fourth form, constant resounding slashes, his blades moving with blinding speed. Tanjiro follows up with Hinokami Kagura, Dance of the Fire God, his fiery blade cutting through the air towards Akaza. Akaza, however, is a formidable opponent. He deftly blocks Tengen's strikes with Destructive Death Annihilation type, a powerful martial arts technique that shatters the ground around him. With a roar, he counters Tanjiro's attack with Destructive Death Air type. A series of rapid punches that create shockwaves, forcing Tanjiro back. Is that all you've got? Akaza taunts, his eyes glinting with sadistic delight. Tengen growls, blood trickling from a wound on his arm. We're just getting started. Despite their combined efforts, Akaza's strength and speed are overwhelming. Tengen, refusing to back down, pushes himself beyond his limits. Tanjiro, on my signal, we hit him together. Tanjiro nods, his eyes burning with determination. Right! Tengen unleashes sound-breathing sixth form, Roar, a deafening attack that disorients Akaza for a split second. Seizing the moment, Tanjiro charges with Hinokami Kagura, Clear Blue Sky, his blade blazing with fiery energy. The combined attack strikes true, but Akaza's regenerative abilities keep him in the fight. He retaliates with Destructive Death, Leg Type, Crown Splitter, a devastating kick that sends Tengen flying. Tengen-san! Tanjiro cries out, rushing to his side. Tengen struggles to his feet, bloodied but unbroken. Tanjiro, you have to finish this. Tanjiro's eyes fill with tears of rage and sorrow. No, Tengen-san, we fight together. Akaza's laughter echoes through the battlefield. How touching. But it ends here. With a roar, Akaza launches a relentless assault, his Destructive Death Leg Type Explosive Flurry aiming to finish them off. Tengen, using the last of his strength, counters with sound-breathing First Form, Roar, creating a barrier of sound that temporarily halts Akaza's attack. Tengen-san, no! Tanjiro screams as Tengen collapses, his body unable to withstand the strain. Tanjiro, you can do this! Tengen gasps, his vision fading. Enraged and desperate, Tanjiro stands over Tengen's fallen form. You'll pay for this, Akaza! Akaza smirks, unfazed. Then come and face me, boy! Tanjiro launches himself at Akaza with renewed fury. Hinokami Kagura, Burning Bones, Summer Sun! His blade ignites in flames, slashing through the air with lethal precision. Akaza counters with Destructive Death, Compass Needle. Their attacks clashing in a blinding explosion of power. The ground beneath them cracks and splinters, the air filled with the roar of their battle. Is that all you've got? Akaza sneers, his regeneration keeping him in the fight. I'll never give up, Tanjiro shouts, his attacks becoming faster and more desperate. Just as Akaza is about to land a fatal blow on Tanjiro, a swift, precise strike interrupts him. Water breathing. 11th form. Dead calm. Giyu Tomioka has arrived, his presence a beacon of hope. Tomioka-san! Tanjiro cries out, his voice a mixture of relief and determination. Giyu's expression is as stoic as ever. Tanjiro, we fight together. Akaza's grin widens with excitement. More opponents? This is getting interesting. With Giyu by his side, Tanjiro feels a renewed surge of strength. They move in perfect synchronization, their attacks harmonizing in a deadly dance. Giyu strikes with water breathing, 7th form, piercing raindrop, a precise and deadly thrust aimed at Akaza's heart. Tanjiro follows up with Hinokami Kagura, Clear Blue Sky, his blade blazing with fiery energy. Akaza, though formidable, finds himself pushed to his limits. He counters with Destructive Death, Leg Type, Crown Splitter, but Giyu and Tanjiro's combined strength begins to wear him down. Impressive, Akaza admits, his voice tinged with genuine admiration. But can you keep up? Giyu and Tanjiro press their advantage, each strike carrying the weight of their determination and the memories of their fallen comrades. Giyu unleashes water-breathing ninth form, splashing water flow turbulent, creating a torrent of water that envelops Akaza. Tanjiro seizes the opportunity, launching his most powerful attack yet, Hinokami Kagura, Flame Dance. His blade becomes a whirlwind of fire, slashing through the water to strike Akaza with devastating force. Akaza staggers, bloodied and battered, but still defiant. You've grown stronger, but this isn't over. The battle rages on. The training grounds are engulfed in chaos as demons attack from every direction. Zenitsu, eyes wide with terror, darts from one hiding spot to another, his heart pounding in his chest. Where do I hide? Where do I hide? Zenitsu whispers frantically, his breath ragged. He stumbles behind a large boulder, trying to calm himself, but the fear is too much. Suddenly, the ground shakes as demons burst forth, their snarls filling the air. Zenitsu's body seizes up and he faints in sheer terror. As Zenitsu lies unconscious, a change comes over him. His body tenses, then relaxes, and his breathing steadies. Sleep Zenitsu has awakened. His eyes snap open, now calm and focused. With fluid, graceful movements, he stands and unsheathes his sword. Thunder-breathing, first form, thunderclap, and flash. In a blinding flash of light, he dashes forward, cutting down the demons with unparalleled speed and precision. One demon lunges at him from behind, but Zenitsu counters effortlessly. Thunder-breathing, first form, thunderclap, and flash, sixfold. He moves so fast that he seems to be everywhere at once, dispatching the demons in a flurry of electric energy. Zenitsu's relentless assault continues, each technique more powerful than the last. But then, a chilling voice echoes through the chaos. Zenitsu, I see you've improved. Zenitsu freezes as Kaigaku, his former comrade and now Upper Moon 6, appears before him. Kaigaku's eyes gleam with malice and contempt. You've become quite the swordsman, but you're still the same coward I knew. Zenitsu's grip tightens on his sword. Kaigaku, you betrayed us. You betrayed our master. Kaigaku smirks, his posture relaxed yet menacing. Master was weak. He couldn't survive in this world, and neither could you. But I've found true power. With a roar, Kaigaku attacks. Thunder-breathing third form, Thunder Swarm. His sword crackles with dark lightning, the force of his attack shattering the ground beneath him. Zenitsu barely manages to dodge, countering with thunder-breathing first form, Thunderclap, and Flash, eightfold. He unleashes a series of rapid, electrifying strikes, each one aimed at Kaigaku's vital points. You always were fast, Kaigaku sneers, deflecting the attacks with ease. But speed alone won't save you. Their swords clash in a series of blindingly fast exchanges, the air around them crackling with energy. Kaigaku's dark lightning clashes with Zenitsu's bright, creating a spectacular display of power. You've grown stronger, Zenitsu, but you're still not enough, Kaigaku taunts, pushing Zenitsu back with a powerful strike. Zenitsu grits his teeth, refusing to back down. You're wrong, Kaigaku! I'm not the same scared kid anymore! He launches himself at Kaigaku with thunder-breathing first form, thunderclap and flash, eightfold. His blade cuts through the air with incredible speed, striking Kaigaku's side and drawing blood. Kaigaku snarls, his eyes blazing with fury. You'll pay for that! He unleashes thunder-breathing sixth form, rumble, and flash, a devastating attack aiming to finish Zenitsu off. Just as Kaigaku is about to land a fatal blow, a familiar voice rings out, Zenitsu, watch out! Inosuke bursts onto the scene, his dual blades flashing, beast breathing, fifth fang, crazy cutting! He intercepts Kaigaku's attack, the force of his strike pushing the demon back. Inosuke! Zenitsu exclaims, relief flooding his voice. Inosuke grins, his eyes wild with excitement. Let's take this guy down together! Kaigaku's eyes narrow. So, the boar-headed fool joins the fray. No matter, I'll crush you both. Zenitsu and Inosuke move in tandem, their attacks complementing each other's styles. Inosuke's aggressive, unpredictable strikes keep Kaigaku on the defensive, while Zenitsu's precise, lightning-fast techniques strike with deadly accuracy. Thunder-breathing first form of thunderclap and flash sixfold, Zenitsu calls out, his blade emitting arcs of electricity that force Kaigaku to dodge. Beast-breathing Third Fang, devour! Inosuke roars, his blades tearing through the air in a whirlwind of steel. Kaigaku counters with thunder breathing. Fourth form, distant thunder, striking with terrifying power. The ground beneath them shatters, and the air fills with the deafening sound of thunder. Despite their combined efforts, Kaigaku's strength is overwhelming. He deflects their attacks with ease, his counterattacks growing more ferocious. You're strong, but you're still nothing compared to me. Kaigaku taunts, his blade crackling with dark energy. He launches a devastating attack, aiming to finish them off. Zenitsu and Inosuke barely manage to dodge. The ground where they stood moments ago, now a smoking crater. Panting and bloodied, they regroup, their determination unwavering. Inosuke, we have to end this now, Zenitsu says, his eyes fierce. Inosuke nods, his gaze steely. Right, let's go all out. With a roar, Zenitsu and Inosuke launch their final assault. Zenitsu moves with blinding speed, his sword a blur of lightning. Thunder breathing, first form, thunderclap and flash, Godspeed. He strikes Kaigaku from multiple angles, each attack a burst of electric fury. Inosuke follows up with beast breathing, seventh form, spatial awareness, his heightened senses guiding his strikes with pinpoint accuracy. Beast breathing, final fang, sudden throwing strike. He hurls his blades with incredible force, aiming for Kaigaku's heart. Kaigaku unleashes his full power. His blade becomes a serpent of dark lightning, striking out in all directions. Similar to the main story, Sanemi and Obanai are having a duel at the time. They face off in a secluded area, their swords clashing with lightning speed. Their intense match is abruptly interrupted as a swarm of demons bursts into the clearing, their eyes gleaming with bloodlust. Without missing a beat, Sanemi and Obanai switch from sparring to combat. Wind breathing, first form, dust whirlwind cutter. Sanemi shouts, his blade creating a vortex of wind that shreds the demons around him. Serpent breathing, first form, winding serpent slash. Obanai intones, his sword slashing through the demons' insinuous deadly arcs. The two Hashira move with deadly precision, their techniques cutting down the demons with ease. But the respite is short-lived, as an ominous presence disrupts the battlefield. Doma, Upper Moon 2, emerges from the shadows, his smile cold and mocking. His presence sends a shiver down their spines, but their resolve only hardens. Sanemi and Obanai launch themselves at Doma without hesitation, their swords moving in perfect harmony. Wind breathing, second form, claws purifying wind. Sanemi's attack creates a barrage of slashing winds aimed directly at Doma. Serpent breathing, second form, venom fangs of the narrow head. Obanai's sword lashes out like a serpent aiming for Doma's vital points. Doma deflects their attacks with his fans, his movements almost leisurely. Is this the best you can do? I'm disappointed. Sanemi and Obanai press on, refusing to relent. But the fight doesn't end here. Stay tuned for part 2 of the video, make sure to subscribe and watch how I created the strongest Upper Moon's demons ever. Before the part 2 comes out, take care.
The fight continues as Sanemi and Obanai press onto Doma. In the last video, Tengen died. Akaza is currently fighting Tanjiro and Giyu. Kaigaku is also fighting Zenitsu and Inosuke. Wind breathing, third form. Sanemi's blade whips up a storm of cutting winds, slashing at Doma from all directions. Serpent breathing, fourth form. Obanai's sword moves with terrifying speed and precision, striking at Doma with relentless fury. Despite their best efforts, Doma's strength is overwhelming. He deflects their attacks with ease, countering with devastating force. Crimson Lotus, frostbite. Doma's fans create an icy explosion, forcing Sanemi and Obanai to retreat. Wind breathing, sixth form. Black wind mountain mist. Sanemi counters, creating a shield of wind to deflect the ice shards. Serpent breathing, fifth form. Coiled choke. Obanai's sword wraps around Doma's weapon, attempting to disarm him. Doma laughs, effortlessly breaking free from their combined assault. You're all so persistent, how amusing. As the battle rages on, Shinobu and Kanao arrive on the scene. Shinobu's eyes are filled with determination, a fierce resolve burning within her. Doma, you will pay for what you did to my sister! Shinobu screams, her voice shaking with emotion. Doma's smile widens, his eyes glinting with amusement. Ah, Shinobu, you've grown. I've been waiting for the day I could devour you. Shinobu's face sets in a grim expression. Insect breathing, dance of the butterfly. Caprice! She darts forward with incredible speed, her blade aiming for Doma's neck. Kanao follows suit, her movements swift and precise.
Flower breathing, first form, crane wing. She attacks from the other side, coordinating perfectly with Shinobu. The 4 demon slayers fight fiercely, their attacks relentless. Wind breathing, fourth form, rising dust storm. Sanemi creates a powerful whirlwind, trying to trap Doma. Serpent breathing, third form, coil choke. Obanai's sword lashes out, aiming for Doma's vital points. Doma deflects their attacks with his fans, his movements almost leisurely. Is this the best you can do? I'm disappointed. Shinobu presses on, her anger fueling her every move. Insect breathing, dance of the dragonfly, compound eye hexagon. She aims multiple strikes at Doma, hoping to find an opening. Kanao supports her, their synchronized attacks creating a dazzling display of swordsmanship. Kanao's graceful movements add to the assault, each strike aimed with deadly precision. Despite their best efforts, Doma's strength is overwhelming. He deflects their attacks with ease, countering with devastating force. In a moment of desperation, Doma aims a lethal blow at Kanao. "Kanao, look out!" Shinobu cries, throwing herself in the path of the attack. The blade pierces through Shinobu, her blood splattering onto the ground. She gasps, her eyes wide with pain and determination. Sanemi, Obanai, and Kanao's eyes widen in horror and fury. "Shinobu!" they cry out, their voices filled with anguish. Doma smirks, wiping the blood from his blade. "Such a touching sacrifice! But it won't save you!" Fueled by rage and grief, Sanemi and Obanai attack with renewed ferocity. Wind breathing, seventh form. Sanemi unleashes a torrent of wind blades. Serpent breathing, fourth form. Twin-headed reptile. Obanai's sword moves with terrifying speed and precision. Kanao, tears streaming down her face, joins them. Flower breathing, fifth form. Peonies of futility. She attacks with all her might, her strikes fueled by the memory of Shinobu. The battle rages on, brutal and unrelenting. Despite their combined efforts, Doma remains a formidable opponent, his laughter echoing through the battlefield. On the mountain portion of the training grounds, Gyome and Genya destroy a bunch of demons that invade, but then an oppressive presence fills the air. Kokushibo, Upper Moon 1, emerges from the shadows, his 6 eyes gleaming with malevolent intent. The air grows cold, and the sense of dread is palpable. Seeing Upper 1 inscribed on his enemy's eyes, Gyome preps his massive flail and axe and alerts Genya. "Prepare yourself, Genya. This will not be an easy battle." Genya, gripping his shotgun and Nichiren's sword tightly, nods. "I'm ready, Gyome-san." Kokushibo wastes no time, launching himself at the pair with blinding speed. Gyome swings his massive weapon with formidable strength, intercepting Kokushibo's initial attack. Stone-breathing, first form, serpentinite bipolar. Gyome's weapon creates a powerful shockwave, forcing Kokushibo to momentarily retreat. Genya fires his shotgun, the explosive rounds aimed at Kokushibo's head. The Upper Moon 1 deflects the bullets with ease, his eyes narrowing in annoyance. "Impressive but futile," Kokushibo sneers. Moon-breathing, third form. Loathsome moon, chains. His sword creates a cascade of crescent-shaped blades, forcing Gyome and Genya to dodge and block with all their might. Gyome, sheer strength and defensive techniques clash with Kokushibo's relentless assault. Gyome swings his flail and axe in wide, powerful arcs, deflecting Kokushibo's attacks and creating a momentary opening. Genya seizes the opportunity, charging at Kokushibo with his Nichiren sword. "You won't get away with this!" Kokushibo, unfazed, counters with a swift, brutal strike. Moon-breathing, fifth form. His blade moves with impossible speed, slashing through Genya's defenses and sending him crashing to the ground, bloodied and battered. Desperate to protect Gyome and buy him time, Genya consumes a piece of demon flesh, his body temporarily regenerating and enhancing his abilities. He stands, defiant, and attacks Kokushibo with renewed vigor. Kokushibo's 6 eyes flash with contempt. Brave but foolish! He delivers a crushing blow that pierces Genya's chest, his sword imbued with a deadly dark energy. Genya gasps, blood pouring from his wound. With his last breath, he tries to strike Kokushibo one final time, but the Upper Moon 1 effortlessly bats him aside, his body collapsing lifelessly. Filled with sorrow and rage as he witnesses Genya's fall, he channels his grief into his attacks, each strike more powerful than the last. Stone-breathing, seventh form, his weapon moves with incredible speed, creating a barrier of stone that pushes Kokushibo back. Kokushibo, however, is relentless. "You cannot withstand my power, Stone Hashira," he taunts, breaking through Gyome's defenses with a powerful strike. Just as Kokushibo is about to deliver a fatal blow to Gyomei, Muichiro Tokito appears, his blade intercepting Kokushibo's attack. Mist breathing, 6th form, lunar dispersing mist. He creates illusions, confusing Kokushibo and buying Gyomei a moment to recover. Kokushibo's eyes widen slightly. Your skills are incredible despite your young age. There's no doubt about it. You are my descendant. Muichiro's expression remains cold and determined. It doesn't matter who I am. I'll defeat you. Muichiro and Kokushibo clash with incredible speed and precision. Mist breathing, 7th form, obscuring clouds. Muichiro's movements become a blur, his blade striking from multiple angles. Kokushibo acknowledges his skill with a grim smile. You have potential, but it won't save you. He counters with moon breathing, 6th form. His blade creates a whirlwind of slashes, cutting through Muichiro's defenses. Just as the battle seems to be reaching a critical point, Mitsuri Kanroji arrives, her whip-like blade striking Kokushibo with incredible flexibility. Love breathing, 5th form, her sword dances through the air, adding to the assault on Kokushibo. Gyomei, Muichiro, and Mitsuri coordinate their attacks, each strike aimed to exploit Kokushibo's openings. Stone breathing, 4th form, Gyomei's weapon smashes into the ground, creating a shockwave that staggers Kokushibo. Mist breathing, 3rd form, Muichiro's blade moves like a ghost, striking Kokushibo's vital points. Love breathing, 6th form, Mitsuri's blade wraps around Kokushibo, attempting to bind him. Despite their combined efforts, Kokushibo's strength is overwhelming. He parries Muichiro's strike, countering with a devastating blow that sends the Mist Hashira sprawling. Mitsuri, seeing Muichiro in danger, leaps to his defense. I won't let you hurt them. She attacks with all her might, but Kokushibo's blade is relentless. Moon breathing, 8th form. He unleashes a deadly combination of slashes that overwhelms Mitsuri, her blade shattering under the force. Mitsuri, no! Muichiro cries out as Kokushibo's blade pierces Mitsuri's heart, her body collapsing to the ground. With tears streaming down his face, Gyomei says,
Namu Amida Butsu.
With Mitsuri's sacrifice fueling their rage, Gyomei and Muichiro launch a furious assault on Kokushibo. The battle becomes a brutal 2-versus-1 clash. Gyomei's strength and Muichiro's speed create a deadly combination. Stone breathing, 9th form, Gyomei's weapon swings with earth-shattering force, aiming to crush Kokushibo. Mist breathing, 7th form. Muichiro's blade moves with otherworldly speed, creating a flurry of strikes that envelop Kokushibo. Kokushibo fights back with all his might. Moon breathing, 10th form. Drilling slash moon through bamboo leaves. His blade moves with blinding speed, countering their attacks with deadly precision. Similar to how things happen in the main story, Muzan storms into Kagaya's home. Before Muzan can kill him, Kagaya sacrifices himself to cause an explosion that temporarily weakens Muzan. Lady Tamayo arrives and tries to hold Muzan off with more traps in anticipation of the Hashira's arrival. But this time, there are no Hashira around to capitalize on Muzan's weakened state since they're all in a crisis of their own. Muzan kills Lady Tamayo easily and alerts Nakame that the sun is on the verge of rising. The several face-offs between Demon Slayers and Upper Moons come to an abrupt end as all the Upper Moon demons are instantly teleported into the Infinity Castle. At the end of the arc, there are only 5 Hashiras left: Muichiro, Gyomei, Sanemi, Obanai, and Giyu. Other significant characters such as Genya and Kagaya are also dead, as well as an unprecedented number of Demon Slayers. The characters swear to get revenge on Muzan and the Upper Moons for the tragedies they faced. The Demon Slayers mourn their lost comrades. Gyomei mourns his former Tsugoku, Genya. Obanai mourns his crush, Mitsuri. Kanao mourns her master, Shinobu. And Tengen's wives as well as Tanjiro mourn Tengen. The entire Demon Slayer Corps mourns its fallen leader, Kagaya Ubuyashiki. The characters swear to get revenge on Muzan and the Upper Moons for the tragedies they faced. By sunset, when the Hashiras were having meeting, just then an aura emerges from the shadow, making all the Hashiras in alert. But stay tuned for the part 3. Meanwhile, you can watch the part 1 again or this one again.